professional, also a perfect record. 35 fights, 35 victories, including 32 by knockout, including 22 consecutive KOs, and he has KO'd every opponent he's faced over the last 8 years. This Olympic medalist from Karaganda, Kazakhstan, is the reigning, defending, undefeated, universally recognized true middleweight champion of the world, Gennady Golovkin,
John Jones is a bad guy. That guy, if we were living 1,000 years ago, he would be on a horse with the biggest battle axe, waiting in the back, hacking heads off, and everybody would be running. And those people have always existed. These dominators have always existed.
And like I said, I just want to talk about our Minister for Foreign Affairs, who did a really good job. So that bilateral trade deal, which I was giving props to earlier, UK South Africa's growth plan and its purpose to drive economic development, increase trade, investment ties, opportunities for business and communities both in UK and South Africa. South Africa need a seat on the UN Security Council. And I want to talk about a bunch of other things, but I also want to say, Africa has the fastest growing population and economies, as well as the critical materials needed for world consumption. Africa has one of the largest free trade zones and ecosystems, and it holds 30% of the world's critical minerals. Entirety, and I'm going back to Trump, of his manifesto on Africa is jobs focused and economic, which makes it imperative that the GNU work with his administration. Prosper Africa initiative by Trump which is something we really need, because what's happening in South Africa and Africa right now is we're seeing a shrinking middle class, which is why you're finding that a lot of people are now buying Chinese cars, that you're seeing like the Mercedes and the Audi and the VW and the BMW going down in sales, and even going down in sales in the secondary markets, obviously because inflation is not being correlated to the earning. Inflation and its kind of a tier is going up much higher than the earning potential, and this is why we're seeing a shrinking middle class, where you have to earn a figure that would be classed and should be classed as a upper middle class to be a lower middle class individual and have a lower middle class home, and that has changed from 15 years ago, from you driving a BMW 3 Series or a C-Class, having and owning your own home, sending your kids to Model C schools, to it now being, hey, you know what, maybe you drive a Cherry Tiggo or a Val, and there's nothing wrong with this, and I respect all these people, or a Val or a GWM, and then now maybe you're renting and your kids go to semi-private schools, and you don't go and shop at Woolworths anymore. Maybe you shop at like a Pick and Pay or a Bluff Meat Supply, which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that, because I also shop at those places. I love Bluff Meat Supply because the owner was a former EFC fighter. So I think he's doing amazing work in his business, and I do support him. So I just think that what Trump is doing with his Prosper Africa is really necessary, obviously, to kind of grow our middle class and stop the shrinkage in our middle class, and that's needed to obviously stabilize our economy, stabilize world markets, stabilize the culture, stabilize the public, and then obviously a good solid middle class is what you build on. Is how you create a strong and unified culture, a strong and unified nation, as well as now you can start thinking about investment, job creation, changes in investment grading, things of that nature. But we need a strong middle class to do that. So that's why I think working with Trump is good, because the Prosper Africa initiative is good. And this is me saying that a lot of these people lie to you, because I haven't seen a great many of people talk about these things, right? So Yeah, I think it's great for obviously growing the middle class and providing opportunities to African youth, supporting open markets, obviously for African and American businesses. And that's really the difference where you see in, like some members will lie to you, between conservatives and obviously liberals, is that us as conservatives, we support open markets and free trade, whereas the liberals do not, right? They'd rather feed you than show you how to feed yourself. That is the best way I can describe it. They'd rather give you some fish than teach you how to fish. So that's where there's a bad rap. That's where there's some miscommunication and some propaganda. And I'm really looking forward to some bipartisan assistance programs by the Trump administration, the Youth Employment Service and Employment Tax Incentive. And then I'm just getting into an idiot, right? Dan Corder. So I'm just gonna let's just get into him.